welcome back to another episode of Screen Tested. I am your host Tyrant, and in today's episode we have another ranking tier list, episode 2. Should be pretty fun. I enjoyed doing the last one. There are a couple of things that I wanted to mention before we dive in. First and foremost is that some people said I should actually give a little bit of a brief history of these things before before we rank them, right? Because not everybody knows exactly where they're from or what they are. I think that's fair. So in today's episode, what I'm going to try and do is give you a little bit of a roundup of each individual fantasy weapon in case you don't know where it's from. And then lastly, I say it every episode, yet for some reason, people just don't seem to get it. We're not talking about the lore. We're not talking about the canon or the in-universe stuff. We are talking specifically about these weapons in the real world. I say it every time, but yet there's always people who comment about canon or in-lore reasons. Man, it can be frustrating because I feel like you're missing the entire point of all of this. Anyway, let's get started with today's episode. So starting off, let's have a look at all of the things that we've previously done. It's actually kind of crazy now that I look at it. But in today's episode, we should have, is there 10 items? 3, 6, 9, 10, yep. So what we're gonna do is, let's get started with it. I think we should start off with a really simple one that doesn't need much deliberation, and that is the Keyblade. This is a D tier. This is the Kingdom Hearts Keyblade used by Sora, right? Now, it acts more like an axe, but you don't actually use it like an axe, you use it like a metal pole. So you hit with the blunt, you don't actually hit with the force concentrating head part, you hit with just the blunt pole part. On top of that, the guard gets in the way of your hand. It's very uncomfortable. It actually activates the wrong muscles when you're using it. It's a terrible weapon. I would give this much lower if possible. But I want to get that one out of the way. Next up, let's go with something that I found fun, something I found interesting, and that was the Lirpa. This is from Star Trek. It's a Vulcan dueling weapon, as far as I'm aware. I'd give this a C tier. I'd give this a C tier because it's not the most effective weapon, right? Especially when you look at what category it would probably be in, which is like a polearm, because it's relatively short, but it's also a little bit longer than a regular sword. When you compare it to those sorts of weapons, I think it falls short, but I do think it still has some, it's still a force multiplier and it's still deadly. So it's just more so, how would you use it? What would it be used against is where these sorts of things kind of fall, and I feel like that's something that I should mention for all of these things. Remember, these things have to be compared to real world equivalents. For example, you have something like the Kanabo. Well, that's a real historical weapon, or something like Wukong staff. That's compared to a regular bow staff. You compare it in the same sort of categories, because the moment we start trying to compare, the Wukong staff versus the Keyblade, you're mismatching things. So when we try and do our ratings, we try and compare it to real world equivalents. So for the Lirpa, I would put it somewhere in a C tier. I don't think it's, it's not trash. It's not as bad as like the Keyblade or Wolverine claws, but it's not the best either. But anyway, I went on a little bit of a tangent there. My bad, guys. Anyway, next up, let's go with the whip sword. I mean, this should not be a surprise to anybody. It's called a whip sword, but that doesn't actually mean it has any whipping motion. It is an articulated sword. It's basically a flail, I guess, is the way I'd describe it. It can generate some force, but at the same time, it's almost useless on any other vector, especially when it comes to like an armored opponent. On top of that, actually using it, meaning you have to bring it back, you have to reload it in the best way to describe it, and then on top of that, you can't thrust with it, and then it's just not a good weapon. I shouldn't have to explain what a whip sword is either. It's very popular. It's a sword that is It's made to resemble a whip, but it doesn't actually have any of the characteristics I would say that make a whip what it is. It also presents a lot of danger to the user because of rebound and ricochet. It's also unpredictable because it's articulated. There are just too many negatives here to give this higher than a D tier. Next up, what have we got here? Next up, let's go with the Halo Energy Sword. This one was a complicated one because it's not a real energy sword, right? It's made out of steel. It's a sword. As a sword design, I'm okay with B because I feel like there are some virtues there. It's not wholesale, throw it out. It can be used in a punch dagger sort of way. It has large edges to cut with. It also does, relatively speaking, have some sort of guards, I would call them that. There are some drawbacks, obviously, because it's made for an alien. The handle isn't the most comfortable. But I feel like the context here is I don't think, even if we fixed some of the issues with it, it could go higher than B tier. I feel like B tier is being generous, but it's also the max, even if we fix some of those small detriments. Now, the Halo Energy Sword is from the Halo game and book series. It's used by the elites and an alien species. It's a cool design. There are some drawbacks, but at the same time, when you make one out of steel and use it as a sword, it's not too terrible either. It's not too terrible either. Let's go with Yours Needles. I really like these, but they're an A tier weapon. They are from the Spy X Family anime. They are assassin weapons. I think they're pretty cool, and there's a lot of reasons why, because I think for an assassin, they actually fit really well. They can blend in. They look like knitting needles, so they're rather low profile. But as actual weapons, they're very practical, but there is the caveat in any sort of armored opponent, right? Even if it was soft armor, whatever you have it, these aren't particularly the most useful, and the reason why is because you don't really have a guard. You don't really have something that can really help you generate force on them. So as an assassin weapon, cool, they work, they're really cool. They're tools, they're very useful. But at the same time, they just can't generate as much force as, like, let's say, like a rondel dagger, which is what I would compare these to, right? They're needles, they're for thrusting, for stabbing. I think they just fall a little bit short of that, but they're still really good, and I really like them as well. Thanks for holding that for me, buddy. If you're enjoying today's episode, you should consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks, buddy. Next up, let's go with the gaffi stick. Now, the gaffi stick is from the Star Wars franchise. It's based off, relatively speaking, based off a historical weapon. I don't think this should be a surprise to anybody. This is S tier. It has an armor penetrating point. On top of that, it has a butt spike that can be used as a spear. It's a very versatile weapon that can be used in a lot of different ways. It's cool. It's genuinely very good. In terms of using, because there are some different versions of it, there is one that has kind of like a flanged mace version. I don't know if I'm completely sold on that, and the reason why is because the counterbalance of the armor piercing head on the other side, I think would limit that a little bit. And I think that's a bit redundant as well, especially when you have the big armor piercing head on one side. Why do you need it on the other side? I think having the armor piercing head on one end and then the spear spike on the other end is the best kind of configuration for it, personally. It's very good. I like it. I really like it. It did break in testing, but that was more me than the actual thing. It's good. Next up, let's go with the Furian ulaks from the Chronicles of Riddick series. Honestly, they're not as bad as some people might think. They look very Mall Ninja. They look fucking Mall Ninja. I will admit this. But in terms of actually where I would rate them, I'd put them in B tier. They are still a functional knife, and especially when you compare this to other, blades or daggers or whatever. Maybe it's not as good, sure, but in a relatively speaking, they're still very good. They have a large point, they are curved. It's more of a user thing with these, depending how you decide to use them. I feel like that's the caveat with them. In terms of actually a design, I don't have too many gripes. Personally, I don't think I'd go with it, but that doesn't mean it's wholesale trash. I think that's very fair. The Castlevania throwing cross. It's a fucking S tier weapon. It's an S tier weapon. It's legit. I like this one more than all the other throwing glaives and stuff like that. The throwing cross is a very versatile weapon. It's a cross, which for the context of vampire hunting, is useful. On top of that, it's very good at being thrown in terms of like the hit ratio and stuff. The user error for it is very low. On top of that, because it's the shape of a cross, that actually really aids with giving it other benefits that you wouldn't first assume. For example, because it's cross, it has a larger handle portion that you can hold onto and throw. On top of that, you can use that larger handle portion as somewhat of a small dagger. It's not a big dagger, but because you can brace your hand up against the cross, it means that acts as a guard and you can really drive that point home. So it's a very versatile weapon and it's good. It's just really good. So I hate to do it, but it is S tier. It's an S tier weapon. For fuck's sake. Don't ever say that I'm biased against throwing weapons. That's a fucking S tier weapon. Next up, let's go with the giants. No, let's go with the cane. This one also, ooh, it's got to be S tier. It's got to be S tier. This one also is a very, very versatile weapon. First off, it's a walking cane, so it helps you with your stability. It is a medical device. On top of that, it has two blades, meaning when you remove the blade from the handle, you have the blade and you have one on the end of the cane as well. So you have two weapons. Then on top of that, you can use the cane itself as a weapon because it has a large, crow's beak, literally. You can use that as an armor-piercing point. It's incredibly versatile and it's realistic. It's fantasy, but it's realistic. It's a real one. It's a real weapon as well as being fantasy. It's an S tier, man. So we were a little bit spotty there with being C grade with the last Assassin's Creed one, but the cane is awesome. Now, obviously, this is from Assassin's Creed. It's from one of the games. It's a cane with a blade in it. Self-explanatory. And then lastly, a giant sword. From so many different franchises, so many different pop culture ones, it's a giant fucking sword. B tier is kind of where I'm at with it. Like, the problem is, what problem does the giant sword fill? And the answer is not many. There are contextual things where it would be really good and really useful, but in a general sense, I'm not entirely sold on it. What category would it go in? I don't think it goes into a sword category. It is a giant sword, but what would this be fighting against? Probably like polearms, probably spears, probably halberds, something with equivalent reach. And in that sense, I think it falls below because it's nowhere near as nimble, even trying to make it as light as humanly possible. Now, there are giant swords, real swords that are large. You have things like Zweihanders, war swords or claymores, whatever you want to call them all, right? And they are nimble, they are quick, they can be moved around reasonably quick. This one here, especially when we get to like the pop culture interpretations, they're just too bulky. In terms of enclosed spaces, you're going to have trouble with it. The only real contextual benefit I see to it is like a duel. If you had a giant sword and your opponent had a regular sword, sure, but that's not really saying much. So I think B tier is kind of where I would go for a giant sword. It's not wholesale throw it out trash, but at the same time, you have to get a lot of things right. It has to be made right, it has to be wieldable, and even then, it's still like there are other weapons that are a bit better. It really is it's not filling a need. I feel like that's a good way of describing it. But that's going to be all. I think I'm pretty happy with this tier list. I think most of these are where I would put them. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys think of this ranking. Is it fair? Is it not? Would you change some stuff? And if you would, why you would change it? And remember, don't put in lore reasons or in-universe reasons. Don't do it. You're missing the entire point of the episode. But that's going to be all for now. Thanks for watching, guys. I genuinely hope you enjoyed. Remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already. You can become a channel member, help support this type of content. I genuinely would appreciate it. It helps everything, helps me keep doing this stuff. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching. And as always, I'll see you next week in another episode. Have a good one.